Have you ever imagined that a simple coin you might have in your pocket, a coin that was once used casually in everyday transactions, could turn out to be worth tens of millions of dollars and become a legendary piece of history that collectors and treasure hunters alike dream of finding? Well, the 1982 quarter dollar coin has reached a mythical status in the world of numismatics with a rumored face value of $49 million, making it one of the most talked about and intriguing coins ever minted in the United States. And this story is not just about metal and minting, it is about mystery, rarity, historical context, and the incredible journey of a small piece of currency that turned into a cultural icon. The tale of the 1982 quarter dollar is woven into the fabric of American coinage history because it represents a turning point in minting technology and economic conditions of the early 1980s when the country was experiencing inflation, changing industrial costs, and new approaches to coin production. This quarter was minted in Philadelphia, marked by the letter P, and what sets it apart from many other coins is not only its connection to the era but also the errors, anomalies, and extremely limited specimens that surfaced which catapulted its value into unimaginable territory. Now when you think of the quarter dollar coin you picture George Washington's profile on the obverse, an iconic representation of America's first president that began in 1932 to commemorate his 200th birthday and continued to be the face of the quarter for decades. But in 1982 something extraordinary happened. The U.S. Mint shifted its coin production methods and stopped producing mint sets for collectors. This created a gap in high-quality examples of coins from that year, particularly the 1982 quarter. And collectors realized over time that finding pristine versions of this coin was nearly impossible. This scarcity drove demand through the roof, combined with the fact that some examples of the 1982 quarter featured striking errors, weak strikes, or unusual compositions, and suddenly a quarter that most people would have used to buy a gumball was being whispered about as a coin that could fetch fortunes. Over the years, as coin collecting gained popularity through auctions, expos, and the rise of online marketplaces, the mystique of the 1982 quarter only grew. With rumors and confirmed reports of certain rare variants selling for astronomical sums, and this is where the idea of it being valued at $49 million enters the narrative, a figure that has been circulated in collector communities as an exaggerated but powerful symbol of how valuable and elusive the coin can be. Now imagine being someone who unknowingly had one of these coins in their change drawer, tucked away for years, and later discovering that this ordinary-looking quarter could set you up for life. That is the type of story that fuels viral interest and keeps the legend alive. The Philadelphia Mint in 1982 was under pressure to produce billions of coins quickly to meet economic demand, and in this haste mistakes were bound to happen. Missing mint marks, double strikes, weak dies, and off-metal errors created a perfect storm for collectors decades later, with some quarters showing striking anomalies that became treasures of modern coinage. It is also worth noting that the removal of mint sets that year meant there were fewer high-quality coins preserved for posterity, so the 1982 quarter became notorious for being hard to find in top condition, which is exactly what serious collectors crave. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have showcased examples of this coin in rare condition selling for thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars, pushing the imagination further about the possibility of a single perfect example being valued in the tens of millions. Now, the idea of $49 million may sound exaggerated, but it reflects how rarity, condition, historical context, and collector obsession can drive value beyond reason. It has been compared to art pieces like a Picasso or Da Vinci, where the worth is not tied to material but to uniqueness and demand. The 1982 quarter is more than just a coin. It is a time capsule of America's economic transition, a relic of minting history, and a financial mystery wrapped in metal. Enthusiasts spend years hunting through rolls of quarters, estate sales, and old collections hoping to stumble upon one of the legendary era coins or a pristine version that could change their lives. Entire YouTube channels, blogs, and forums are dedicated to discussing its value, showcasing finds, and fueling the craze. Stories circulate of families discovering one in an old jar and suddenly being thrust into the world of auctions and numismatic experts. The power of the 1982 quarter is not just its metal but the human stories attached to it, tales of hope, luck, and fortune tied to a 25-cent piece. That transcends its face value. The buzz around this coin has only grown with time, and every year new collectors enter the market bringing fresh eyes and renewed energy to the hunt. This is why the legend of the 1982 quarter dollar will never fade, because it symbolizes the idea that hidden treasures still exist in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by those who look closely enough. So the next time you have a quarter in your hand, take a closer look, because you might be holding on to history and, who knows, maybe even a fortune. Thank you for joining this incredible journey into the world of the 1982 quarter dollar coin with its rumored $49 million value. And if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating story, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more amazing discoveries that might be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 1986 quarter dollar coin. Have you ever imagined that a simple coin you might have once held in your pocket or spent without a second thought could actually be worth millions today, turning what looks like ordinary pocket change into a life-changing treasure? Because that's exactly the case with the 1986 USA quarter dollar coin, which carries a face value of just 25 cents but in rare and extraordinary circumstances has been rumored to hold a value that reaches a staggering $24 million. And when people hear about this, they often shake their heads in disbelief, but the world of numismatics, or coin collecting, is filled with astonishing stories where rarity, minting errors, historical significance, and sheer chance combine to elevate a coin far beyond its modest origins, and the 1986 quarter is one of those examples that has captivated collectors, investors, and enthusiasts around the world, because coins like this not only embody the craftsmanship and culture of their time but also carry within them the possibility of hidden fortune. And when you dig deeper into the story, you'll find out that 1986 was an important year for American coinage, as it was during a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning in both technology and design precision, meaning that mistakes and unusual variations were more likely to occur. And those rare anomalies are exactly what collectors hunt for, whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, or a unique combination of materials that somehow slipped past quality control and made its way into circulation, because each of those mistakes transforms an ordinary quarter into something extraordinary. And when demand from passionate collectors rises, the price can skyrocket to levels that seem unreal for anyone outside the hobby. And with the 1986 quarter, the rumors of a $24 million valuation come from the idea that a handful of these coins possess highly unusual characteristics, possibly involving striking errors at the Philadelphia Mint, which was known for producing enormous numbers of coins each year. And the rarity lies not in how many were made but in how many survived in pristine condition or with one-of-a-kind minting flaws, because coin collecting has always thrived on the principle of rarity and condition driving value, and it's no exaggeration to say that a single coin can change a person's life. Just as we've seen with other iconic coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar, which sold for tens of millions at auctions, so when whispers spread about the 1986 quarter dollar reaching similar mythical values, it naturally grabs attention and sparks debates in both collector communities and mainstream audiences. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that most people alive today have handled quarters from the 1980s without ever realizing they could have been holding onto a hidden gem, because coins circulate freely, exchanged in vending machines, parking meters, and store counters, and over time most of them become worn down, scratched, and ordinary looking, but every once in a while one coin stands apart due to its unique background, and that is what makes the thrill of hunting coins so addictive. And for some people this passion turns into an obsession as they comb through coin rolls from banks, estate sales, flea markets, and even their own pocket change, hoping to discover that once-in-a-lifetime piece. And while skeptics may argue that no one would ever really pay $24 million for a 1986 quarter, history shows us otherwise, because collectors with vast wealth are willing to pay astronomical sums to secure ownership of a coin that is truly one of a kind, and the value doesn't come only from the metal it's made of but from the narrative, the provenance, and the bragging rights that come with possessing something no one else in the world has. And when you add in the factor of auctions where competitive bidding drives prices far beyond estimates, you start to understand how such incredible values are possible, and the 1986 P quarter thus becomes not just a piece of money but a piece of history, a relic of the minting process of its time, and a potential treasure that continues to spark imagination, because at the end of the day coins are miniature time machines that connect us to the past, showing us the faces of presidents, national symbols, and the craftsmanship of their era, while also serving as financial instruments, and for some they become tickets to unimaginable fortune. So the story of the 1986 P quarter dollar worth $24 million is more than just about a coin. It's about the excitement of discovery, the thrill of possibility, and the undeniable fact that history still hides secrets waiting to be uncovered in the most unexpected places. And that's why collectors keep searching, why everyday people continue to examine the change they receive at the grocery store, and why the legend of this quarter remains alive. Because sometimes what looks ordinary is in fact extraordinary, and one coin could be the key to rewriting someone's financial future forever. So always keep your eyes open, because treasures don't always come in gold bars or diamond rings. Sometimes they come disguised as the coin rattling at the bottom of your pocket. And if you found this story exciting and want to dive deeper into the amazing world of rare coins and hidden treasures, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories that could change the way you look at money forever. Next, 1981 P quarter dollar coin. We are going to uncover the mysterious story of the 1981 P quarter dollar coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike, with reports of certain examples being valued at an astonishing $12 million because of their incredible rarity, their unusual errors, and the historical importance attached to them. And throughout this journey we are going to explore why this seemingly ordinary quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1981 suddenly transformed into a legend of numismatics, why experts believe it carries immense hidden worth, how errors and mistakes during the minting process shaped its destiny, and why people across the globe are fascinated by the possibilities of finding one of these coins in their pocket change. So let us dive right into the story that begins in the early 1980s. A period of transition for U.S. coinage when the mint was producing millions of coins every day, sometimes under intense pressure to meet demands, and in those conditions small mistakes could occur. But when they did, some of those mistakes created coins so unique that they became priceless treasures, and one of the most intriguing examples is the 1981 P quarter dollar that carries a rumored value of $12 million. Now you may wonder, why would anyone pay such a fortune for a coin that normally has a face value of just 25 cents? The answer lies in the extraordinary combination of mint errors, rarity, condition, and collector demand. For instance, one of the most reported errors associated with this coin is the double die obverse, where the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appear slightly doubled, creating a fascinating visual effect that instantly distinguishes the coin from ordinary issues. Another possibility is off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably from the center, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed and giving the coin an incomplete but highly collectible look. Then there are broad strike errors, where the collar that normally restrains the coin during striking fails to function properly, causing the quarter to spread out wider than usual and look almost distorted. And collectors absolutely love these types of mistakes because they are rare, visually dramatic, and nearly impossible to replicate. Some reports also suggest that certain 1981 P quarters may have been struck on the wrong planchet, such as a nickel, or even a foreign coin blank, creating hybrid coins that defy logic and immediately capture attention. Imagine holding a quarter that is slightly smaller, heavier, or a different color because it was mistakenly struck on metal intended for another denomination. Such coins are among the most valuable of all mint errors. Now, when you combine these possibilities with pristine condition examples graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, you begin to see why these coins can soar into multimillion-dollar territory. But the story does not end there, because the historical context adds even more mystery. In 1981, the United States Mint was preparing for the introduction of the Susan B. Anthony dollar and experimenting with processes and machinery that were still being fine-tuned, so the possibility of unusual minting mistakes was higher than in some other years. Furthermore, coins from the Philadelphia Mint in 1981 did not yet carry the P Mint mark that was introduced on quarters only in 1980, so the 1981 P quarter stands at An interesting crossroads of design and mint identity. When numismatists discovered rare examples with unusual features from this year, they quickly realized that something special was going on, and as these coins surfaced at auctions and private sales, stories began circulating about jaw-dropping prices being offered by elite collectors who recognized their uniqueness. One tale describes a 1981 P-quarter with a double strike error selling for an unprecedented sum, fueling speculation that others could be worth even more, and this is how the $12 million valuation was born, because when collectors compete for rarity, the sky truly is the limit. Another fascinating angle is the psychology of collecting itself. People are naturally drawn to items that are one of a kind, and when a coin is not only rare but also carries a story of mistake, survival, and rediscovery, it becomes a piece of living history. The 1981 P-quarter embodies this phenomenon, serving as a reminder of human imperfection and industrial limitations, yet also as a symbol of how accidents can create beauty and value. The allure is further heightened by the possibility that undiscovered examples may still be out there in circulation, hidden in old change jars, tucked away in forgotten drawers, or resting quietly in bank rolls waiting for an unsuspecting finder to recognize their treasure. Imagine the thrill of stumbling upon one of these coins while sorting through your change, realizing that the small disc of copper-nickel alloy in your hand could be worth more than a luxury mansion. Such stories keep collectors motivated and add to the mystique. But let us also consider the technical side. The process of minting coins involves preparing planchets, feeding them into presses, striking them with dies under high pressure, and ejecting them at incredible speeds. When anything in this chain goes wrong even slightly, the result can be dramatic. A tilted die might create an off-center portrait, a misaligned collar might cause the coin to expand unevenly, or a worn die might create faint or missing details. And when these errors occur on coins that are not widely collected, they might pass unnoticed. But on quarters, which are among the most circulated coins in the US, they stand out quickly to sharp-eyed observers. The 1981 P-quarters errors became a beacon for specialists who cataloged, studied, and authenticated them, adding to their prestige. And in the world of numismatics, prestige translates directly into price. Once word spreads that a coin with unique characteristics has achieved record-breaking sales, demand skyrockets, and collectors who may not even specialize in quarters rush to add one to their collection, driving competition and pushing prices higher. Some people even consider these coins a form of investment, much like rare art, because their value can appreciate over time. Especially when fewer examples are known, critics may argue that $12 million is excessive, but history shows us that passionate collectors are willing to pay anything for items they consider irreplaceable, and coins with both era rarity and historical context rank at the very top of this hierarchy. The 1981 P-quarter is therefore not just a piece of metal but a symbol of the unpredictable nature of value, where a mistake becomes magnificence, where imperfection becomes perfection, and where a coin worth 25 cents in circulation becomes a legend worth millions in the numismatic world. So the next time you find yourself holding a quarter, take a close look at the details, check the inscriptions, examine the edges, and ask yourself if you could be holding a treasure, because as the story of the 1981 P-quarter proves, you never truly know the value of what might be in your hand until you take a closer look. And if you enjoyed this journey into the extraordinary tale of a coin transformed by errors into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more incredible stories from the hidden world of coins and treasures where history, rarity, and mystery come together in the most unexpected ways. Next, 1984 P-quarter dollar, we uncover one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in modern numismatics, a story that centers around the 1984 P-quarter dollar coin, a piece of United States currency that at first glance appears like any other coin you might find in spare change, yet it has been reported to hold a staggering value of $22 million. And this breathtaking valuation is not just the result of rarity, but of a combination of unusual errors, striking mistakes, and incredible possibilities that elevate it far beyond its 25-cent face value, making it one of the most talked about quarters in history and a true treasure in the eyes of collectors and historians alike. So settle in as we peel back the layers of history, minting processes, and numismatic intrigue that make this coin one of the most remarkable stories of money ever told, because in order to understand why a simple 1984 p quarter could be worth such an unbelievable amount, we need to examine not only the way coins were made in that era but also the mishaps and anomalies that can occur when machines, human oversight, and historical context collide in fascinating ways. So let's begin by looking at the year 1984 itself, a time when the Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters to satisfy the demand for circulating coinage across the United States. With the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the proud American eagle on the reverse, yet, somewhere in that massive production process, a small handful of quarters slipped through the cracks, carrying with them the kind of errors that make numismatists' hearts race, the kinds of errors that can transform pocket change into life-changing wealth. Errors such as double dies, where the design appears doubled because the coin die shifted during the engraving process, creating clear duplications in letters like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust. Or the date itself, making the coin instantly stand out to a trained eye, or off-center strikes where the planchet, the blank piece of metal meant to be stamped into a coin, was not properly aligned under the press, leaving part of the design missing and creating an asymmetrical coin that screams of minting mishap. And in some cases dramatic off-centers can be worth thousands by themselves, so imagine a dramatic error on a coin already so scarce. Or even a broad strike error where the collar die that normally shapes the coin's edge fails, allowing the metal to spread outward, giving the quarter an oddly expanded, misshapen look that collectors crave. Or a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on metal intended for another denomination such as a nickel, dime, or even a foreign coin planchet, producing a coin that is both a quarter in design and something entirely foreign in weight and size, a numismatic oddity that attracts endless fascination. And then there are the extremely elusive nil errors where the obverse of one coin and the reverse of another are accidentally paired together, creating something that should never exist in circulation, yet has from time to time slipped out of the mint and shocked collectors with its rarity. And while no confirmed 1984 p mule quarter has surfaced, the possibility adds fuel to the legend surrounding this coin's value, because in the mysterious world of minting, anything is possible when you are dealing with millions of pieces of metal and high-speed machinery. Now when you combine the possibility of multiple errors on a single 1984 p quarter, you begin to understand why whispers of such coins existing could push its theoretical value into the multi-million-dollar range, because collectors place astronomical premiums on unique pieces. And nothing excites a serious collector more than the word unique, meaning one of a kind. And a one-of-a-kind error quarter from 1984 could truly command sums that sound unbelievable to the average person, but in the niche world of numismatics are completely logical when supply and demand intersect in such a way. And part of what makes the 1984 p quarter story so engaging is that Philadelphia mintmark, because Philadelphia coins of that era did not always have mintmarks, and the P mark itself on a quarter only began appearing in 1980, making 1984 still a relatively early period for that change. And to the passionate collector, even a subtle difference in mintmark history can add layers of intrigue. Now let's think about the psychology of value in coins, how something so small can inspire people to spend fortunes, and how legends and rumors can amplify that value, because once a coin is said to be worth millions, its allure grows, and collectors chase it not just for the metal but for the story. And the story of the 1984 p quarter is one that blends fact, speculation, and imagination, making it irresistible in auctions, private sales, and whispered tales among numismatists. So picture an error quarter with a bold double die on Washington's profile. Maybe the date 1984 is clearly doubled, the word liberty appears twice faintly overlapping, and the motto "I in God We Trust" looks shadowed as if engraved twice, instantly making this coin far from ordinary. Then imagine that same coin also has an off-center strike, shifting Washington's face so far left that part of his head is cut off by the edge of the coin. A dramatic visual flaw that commands attention, and as if that weren't enough, the coin is also struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin, giving it a slightly different weight that puzzles anyone who holds it, and suddenly you have not just a collectible but a masterpiece of minting accidents rolled into one small piece of metal. Now when auction houses describe coins like this, The bidding wars that erupt are not just about the physical coin but about bragging rights, prestige, and the eternal quest to own something no one else on earth has. And this is exactly how a coin like the 1984 P quarter can climb to valuations like $22 million, because in the numismatic world the line between monetary value and historical storytelling becomes blurred. Each coin is not just metal but a relic, a frozen moment of minting history that can never be recreated, and once it's discovered, its legend grows with each retelling. And people begin to speculate about how many such coins could exist, whether there are still undiscovered treasures hiding in old rolls of quarters or forgotten jars of change in someone's attic, and that dream, the possibility of finding fortune in spare change, drives the fascination with coins like this. And when you trace back through history, you see that era coins of all denominations have achieved incredible prices, from pennies worth over $1 million to nickels and dimes with minting anomalies that defy belief, and each story feeds into the next, creating a tapestry of treasure hunting that keeps collectors on edge, hoping that the next coin they examine will be the one, the $1 million find, or in this case the $22 million 1984 P quarter. And what makes it even more exciting is that errors are unpredictable, they happen randomly, so any coin could in theory hide a secret, and with the mass production of 1,984 quarters numbering in the hundreds of millions, the odds of some slipping through with shocking mistakes were not zero, and that tantalizing possibility keeps the legend alive. And beyond the errors themselves, the 1984 P quarter also carries historical weight as a representation of the Reagan-era economy, a time of growth and change, and holding such a coin today connects collectors not just to numismatic rarity but to the broader history of America in the 1980s, the music, the culture, the technology, all encapsulated in a quarter minted at Philadelphia during that time, making it both a historical artifact and a financial marvel. So as the story spreads and as collectors debate whether such a coin truly exists in this perfect storm of errors, the market responds with incredible enthusiasm, and values like $22 million become plausible when bidders are not just buying a coin but a legend, and that legend will only grow stronger with time, because even if no one outside a tight circle of collectors has seen such a coin, the possibility alone keeps imaginations running wild. So in closing this incredible exploration of the 1984 P quarter, we see how the convergence of minting errors, historical context, rarity, and human imagination can turn a simple piece of metal into a life-changing treasure, and this is why collectors never stop searching, why they peer at every quarter under magnification, why they hunt through rolls of coins from banks, and why they share stories of mythical coins worth millions, because the dream is real, and sometimes reality is even stranger than the dream. So if you found this story fascinating, and you want to continue exploring the hidden treasures of coins and the amazing world of numismatics where ordinary change can hide extraordinary fortunes, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us on future journeys into the unbelievable stories of money that might be hiding in your pocket right now. Last, today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in modern coin collecting, the tale of the 1980 P quarter dollar coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and history lovers alike because of its jaw-dropping value, with certain rare examples reaching as high as $7.36 million thanks to their unusual errors and mistakes, making them among the most valuable modern quarters ever discussed. And in this long journey we will uncover not only why this coin has become such a legend in numismatic circles but also the variety of possibilities, minting anomalies, striking mistakes, planchet flaws, die errors, and historical circumstances that have transformed what should have been a simple 25-cent piece into an object of international intrigue and extreme value. And as we explore this story we must begin by understanding the context of the 1980 Philadelphia mint operations, a time when the mint was producing millions of coins daily, sometimes under pressure and with equipment that could not always keep up with demand, leading to small imperfections that in hindsight created major rarities. And this is exactly why the 1980 P quarter has become so famous, because while the vast majority of coins from that year were ordinary circulation strikes worth only face value, a select handful slipped through the cracks bearing rare minting errors that made them worth millions. The kind of dramatic transformation in value that stirs excitement and makes collectors dream of finding hidden treasure in their pocket change. And when you think about the possibilities of how a 25-cent coin could suddenly be worth $7.36 million, you begin to realize that it is not just about the physical coin itself but about the entire world of numismatic discovery, where rarity, condition, provenance, and unique mistakes all converge to create a story that transcends money and becomes a legend. And so let's break down the errors and mistakes attributed to the 1980p quarter that make it so valuable, beginning with one of the most dramatic possibilities, the double die obverse, in which the die used to strike the obverse, or front of the coin, was improperly hubbed more than once, causing noticeable doubling in inscriptions such as the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word, "Liberty." And in some reported specimens of the 1980p quarter, the doubling is so clear that it almost looks like shadow letters layered over the originals, a dramatic effect that increases desirability tremendously because collectors know that such strong doubling is rare and difficult to counterfeit, and this alone has pushed auction prices into the stratosphere. But that's not the only factor, because others have noted off-center strikes in the 1980p quarter, where the design was not properly centered on the blank planchet and resulted in partial designs, sometimes cutting off letters or Washington's profile. And depending on the degree of the off-center strike, these coins can become highly sought after, especially if the date remains visible, since errors without dates often fetch less. But a visible 1980 date on an off-center quarter makes it instantly recognizable and desirable. Another type of error that drives up the value involves planchet mistakes, where the metal blank itself was flawed before striking. And examples exist of the 1980p quarter being struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as nickel or dime stock, creating coins that weigh less than they should, and that display incompletely struck designs because the planchet size did not match the quarter dies. And when authenticated, these transitional or wrong planchet errors are so extraordinary that collectors bid enormous sums to acquire them, pushing values into the multi-million-dollar range. And beyond that, there are also reports of broad strikes where the retaining collar failed and the coin metal spread out wider than usual, giving the coin a flattened and distorted appearance, which, while visually striking, also increases rarity and desirability, especially when tied to such an important year. And then we must consider the issue of die cracks and cuds, where the minting dies themselves began to deteriorate under the strain of mass production, producing raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the struck coins, some resembling dramatic breaks across Washington's face or lettering. And while small die cracks are relatively common, large dramatic cuds are prized by error collectors, and when found on the 1980p quarter, they contribute to its legendary status. But perhaps the most extraordinary errors of all are the multiple strike or double strike errors, where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, often at slight rotations, leaving behind ghostly overlapping images of Washington's profile or the eagle on the reverse. And such dramatic errors are so rare that even seasoned collectors may never encounter one in their lifetime, and when linked to the 1980p minting year, they are virtually priceless, explaining why some specimens have been valued in the range of $7.36 million. And it is not only the errors themselves that make this coin so valuable but the condition in which they are found. Because a heavily circulated coin with errors may be interesting but will not command the same level of value as a mint state or uncirculated specimen with sharp luster and crisp details. And grading companies like PCGS and NGC play a crucial role in certifying these coins, authenticating the errors, and assigning condition grades that reassure collectors and investors that they are purchasing something legitimate. And in the case of the 1980p quarter, high-grade error coins are exceptionally scarce, driving competition and skyrocketing prices whenever one surfaces at auction. But beyond the errors themselves lies the mystique of the unknown. The possibility that even today one of these coins could be sitting in an old coin jar, forgotten in a drawer, or lurking in circulation, waiting to be discovered. And this is what fuels the passion of collectors, because the dream of finding a coin worth millions for only 25 cents keeps the hobby alive and thriving. And when you think about the Philadelphia Mint in 1980, you can imagine the scale of production, the tens of millions of quarters struck that year, the machinery working non-stop, the human errors, the mechanical slips, all combining to produce the rare accidents that collectors now treasure. And each of these rare era coins tells a story, not only of minting technology and human oversight but also of chance and luck, because for every million flawless coins that pass quality control, one flawed coin may have slipped through, creating the legends we now chase. And while some skeptics argue that the stories of $7.36 million valuations are exaggerated, the truth is that rare coins have consistently surprised the market, with unexpected auction results proving that the demand for unique numismatic treasures knows no bounds, and the 1980p quarter, with its rich variety of errors and the mystery surrounding surviving specimens, has cemented itself as one of the most discussed and sought-after modern quarters, with collectors speculating endlessly about how many survive and what other unknown varieties may still exist. And when you step back and think about it, this story is about much more than money. It is about history, about chance, about the allure of treasure hunting in the modern world, about how something as ordinary as a coin in your pocket can suddenly transform into a key to fortune and legacy. And this is why collectors spend hours searching, cataloging, and examining their coins, because the next great discovery could be theirs, and the 1980p quarter is the perfect symbol of this hope. A coin that began as a simple tool of commerce but through error and survival has become a legend, inspiring books, articles, videos, and discussions around the world. And every time one of these coins changes hands, the legend grows larger, the mystique deepens, and the dream of finding one yourself becomes stronger. And so the 1980p quarter is not merely a coin worth $7.36 million, it is a reminder of the mysteries hidden in plain sight, waiting for those curious enough to look closely, waiting for those who believe that treasures still exist out there. And if you have ever thought about starting a coin collection or checking your change more carefully, let this story inspire you, because history shows that extraordinary finds come when least expected, and perhaps the next great discovery is sitting right in your hand right now. And with that thought, I invite you to keep exploring, keep learning, keep searching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare coins and the unbelievable story of the 1980p quarter dollar, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us again for more incredible stories from the world of numismatics where history, chance, and fortune come together in the most unexpected ways.